Welcome everyone to the Minsan Football Show presented by Upstream Sports TV. I'm Claro Manzano, your host, and welcome back to the show. Of course, to my left, we've got Natasha Alquiros, center, taking the hottest seat in the house, Jing Hamlang. And of course, for the stand, we've got Diego Cordero. Welcome back everybody, right? Of course, safe to say. Woo! There you go. We will have the Minsan Football Show kapag merong game weekend para di na kayo magrereklamo. Before anything else, special thank you to our drinks partner, Thirst. Of course, a big thank you. Kick off with savings this football season. Use the code PFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download the Thirst app today wherever you get your apps. Ding, ding, ding. So to start off the show, let's open our first segment by talking about the recent games. Jing and Natasha, when you guys cover the games, I'd like to think we see a lot of goals. Right, Natasha? You want to kick it off?
We were very lucky, actually. It was raining goals. It wasn't raining. That was also a big plus for the opening weekend. But we saw a lot of goals. Kaya came out guns blazing from the start, scoring 12-0 against Army. And of course, in that second game, Valenzuela PB Mendiola against Manila Digger FC. We saw the first 15-20 minutes of what Valenzuela PB Mendiola can become in this season. They're still in between trying to make sure that all their players are registered. But Manila Digger, they're continuing off the great season that they had last season. Jing?
The top two teams showed why they are the top two teams in that one. And I think Kaya FC, Iloilo, a lot of question marks were around their squad about how they're going to look, how hungry they are going to be for this season. And I think they put on a bit of a masterclass against Army. A new and revamped Army side with a different culture from their coach, who was saying that, they've removed all of this, the dynamic that they have in that reputation that they have for like extracurricular activities or too physical.
Sabihin na natin, Siko.
So, tinanggal na nila yun.
Okay.
Right? And it was on display in that game. I think they fought very honorably. But I think in terms of the scoreline, it showed very clearly that there are certain areas of their game that is still glaringly lacking. But it doesn't get any worse than this, because this is the defending champions that you're up against. So the toughest possible test is out of the way. So you'd like to think that, it goes upwards from here for Army. At least you'd hope so.
To be the best, you got to play against the best, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Wow, we're getting good at saying that.
There you go.
You got to say the full name.
You have to say the full name.
All right, you can't just, it's got to be the whole thing. And I think they put on a good display against Manila Digger, at least in patches, enough to get you a little bit excited to see, how they're going to do this season. So, yeah, some good games. I think that just to wet the beak, so to speak, in that one before the international break. So it was nice to get the ball rolling, and I'm very excited for what's on the horizon for the PFL.
So you could say those guys got that test right away. So maybe brighter things once they play the other teams, because Diego, Digger, and Kaya, right? They are the representatives of the PFL after all in the AFC competitions.
Yeah, the top two last season, and it's absolutely no surprise that they started this season the way they did, both scoring an outrageous amount of goals. And the type of goals that they also scored, a lot of class, a lot of technical ability. And you also saw that the race for the Golden Boots already started. You saw, I believe Cisse got 4 goals. That's a lot from one game.
Yeah.
And then from Kaya, Melissa got a hat-trick.
Yeah.
So a lot of things to look out for. And yeah, a lot of good starts from individuals from both teams. And yeah, it was really a rude awakening for the teams that lost this opening weekend. But they actually play each other this weekend. So it's a chance for both of them to bounce back from the opening day loss. So a lot to look forward to in this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to zoom in on the upcoming matches later this weekend. And I will say, and I'm going to brag that right now, before I maybe do not nail next week's predictions, I was closest. We got predictions. 9-2. I think I said Digger 7-0.
Yeah.
Sekou Cisse was laughing. He goes to me, close one, bro. But yeah, of course, we know, Natasha, guessing or predicting score lines, results is a lottery.
Yeah,
So-
especially when it's the start of the season. But it's good, though we all got the predictions wrong. It was good to see how Kaya were able to set up on their attack. The new players that they put in with the likes of Mike Ott, Kenshiro Daniels, well, a return of Kenshiro Daniels as well, but they seem to fit in so seamlessly into the system of Kaya, and it showed in how they attack. Because usually, let's say last season, they're very solid defensively, but attacking not so much, most especially when it comes to their Champions League outings, etc. So it was good to see a glimpse of their new players playing well right from the get-go.
There you go, of course, that system that we always talk about of Coach Yoshide. But let's talk about the standings, of course. Just those games mentioned, so essentially not too much movement yet when you take a look at the standings. But after all, we are aware that goal difference will be a factor. So, of course, with that, I mean, Kaya have that massive plus 12 already. And then you could start, let's just put it in the media perspective. You could start hyping it now. When are they going to concede their first goal? Because Manila Digger conceded goals already. And and we always raise this really high expectation. I'd like to think, Jing, I mean, hey, you're an AFC team. I don't think you should be leaking in goals, right? Because what more when you're playing overseas? You're playing against tougher opponents and players.
Sure, but back when they were called Davao Aguilas, they shocked Kaya in the cup, in the Copa Paulino Alcantara final. They scored first, on the verge of actually winning that competition. You never know what can happen, right? And the Aguilas are quite interesting as a unit this time around, a completely revamped team. And Kaya didn't do any defending in that Army game, so we don't know, right? I mean, they basically pushed everybody up. Their fullbacks were other attackers. Their center backs were at the half line. They didn't do any defending, right? The goalkeeper barely got tested, so we don't know what they look like when they're running and turning back in their direction, right? If they're pushing all their players up and they get overly confident, what happens when the ball goes over the top and they have to run? We don't know, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, when we talk about Kaya and what they've done during this transfer window so far, because it's not yet finished, they've added a lot of attacking firepower. But for defense, they haven't added anyone new. They've actually transformed one of their midfielders into a center back.
Kaishu.
So we're not yet sure how that's going to work this season, if that's a gamble that's going to pay off on a good way or if that's what's going to bite them in the ass eventually.
Right. Oh, the other thing that they didn't get tested on is height on set pieces, right? Because the Army players all come out of the same factory and they're all the same height. But if, you have a big center forward that comes in and challenges in the air, we'll see.
It's essentially, Kaishu Yamazaki was playing like a playmaking center back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Given the circumstances. But if we can jump to Digger though, there's a lot of overlapping, Diego, especially with players like Christian Sidog Schaffner. Exactly why they signed him up, right? And then Noife Lonco was all over the place in the midfield.
Yeah, the goals were, and the attacking play in general was really spread out. So, as I mentioned earlier, Cisse got 4 goals, but you also saw Nishioka got 2. And then, in general, the attacking play was spread out. The goals were quite evenly spread out. So, yeah, we saw their aggression that they had last season. They've carried it into this season against, with all due respect, a weaker side. But you can only play what's in front of you, obviously. And perfect start for the season for them. They did concede 2 goals, which they might actually be a little bit annoyed at, especially because they came quite close to each other. So the first half was actually a little bit of an even or more even competition between the two teams, but the second half was just a complete blowout. And I just want to talk about that second goal from Cisse. The ball drops from the sky, and on a turf pitch, on the Rizal Memorial surface, which players might not like always, to kill the ball from that high and then to slot it in the bottom corner on your second touch, that is an insane goal. I keep watching it back.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why he's one of those superheroes with them, right? Because with Manila Digger, and last season, you look at the individual stats, the leaders in goals, in assists, I was tracking it, it's like 3 of 5 players in the top 5 are all from Manila Digger. They were really excelling. I mean, not just one guy, but as individuals, they were all performing well. So just with that example that you mentioned, of course, Diego, as we'll carry on, of course, I mean, the standings are definitely going to have a lot of movement as we carry on because we're going to have 5 games this weekend, 3 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So we're looking forward to that. they're expecting some heavy clashes. So, yeah, all to play for. But let's get on to it. Paano ba nagpapakita sa suporta ng team niya ang isang supportive football fan? Yeah, I think I was able to say that properly.
Galing mag-Tagalog, ah.
Oo nga eh. So, how do you show support for your local football clubs? We can start with you, Natasha. Yeah.
I think the main thing, of course, is showing up. Like, show up to the games, come on out to Rizal. Don't just be a keyboard warrior. Show your support by actually being there. It means a lot to the players. When you play in a full stadium, when you play with fans, it's a different feeling for a player than when you play in an empty stadium. So for the fans, they're showing you this season, most especially, it's going to be a lot of high quality matches and a lot of close games. So what they need now is for the fans to support them, if you're capable, especially if you're in Manila, to come on out and support live. Beyond that, of course, is to always follow in the social medias, follow in the live stream, comment, share, and be active as well online, so that there's always traction for your club.
100% agree. 100% agree with that. A lot of it is free. The online stuff is free. Put a like on something, comment a couple of these, you know what I mean? A little clap, or whatever it is, help them out with a little bit of an engagement. Let them know that people are watching and appreciating their content, so they are encouraged to continue to do more. And we're all pushing to make football a little bit more, how should you say, something that is attractive for sponsors, so that, if they can see that people are watching, if people are interacting with your product, then they are more likely to be like, you know what, I want to attach my brand to that. And I think being louder is a good thing. Of course, come to the match, buy the merchandise. That's great. Those things are I suppose goes without mentioning. But definitely just do whatever you can to show your team some support, and the other teams as well. They deserve some attention as well. Like Philippine Army and Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. These teams, they need to be shown that encouragement that they should be involved in this league. So yeah, that's for me.
I think one thing I wanted to add right before we throw it to Diego is, all the likes, the shares, the comments, the views.
Yeah.
Those are actually the barometers they use
Yep.
for social media performance. So something like, my potential sponsors might like also.
Yeah.
And Diego, I know you've shared a lot of interesting ideas also for on how to show support for the league or for teams. Yeah, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, well, other than going to the games, obviously, all in Rizal Memorial, it's like 5-minute walk from the train station. Making noise online, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really does do a lot, because, for example, the more noise you make, the more you're bound to spread the game towards people who might not really know that there's a Philippine Football League. So, yeah, just making noise online. There's a really good community on Facebook, on X, and there's a growing community actually on TikTok, which I've noticed. So, there's a growing space that we can tap into, and there's a gap that we can help bridge by just making noise around the PFL. It's something that doesn't seem hard to do, but it's something that actually really, really needs to be done. So just making as much noise as possible. And another thing, buy the merch, because even if you're not a fan of any club in particular, there are some kits in the PFL that I'd like to get my hands on those. The Maharlika kit this season looks really good. The Kaya kit is always good. The One Taguig kit is always also something that I always want to buy. So yeah, merch, just buy them. They're easily accessible. Sometimes they're in the stadium themselves, or you can buy them online. So yeah, that's a way you can support Philippine football too.
To another level, if you want to add to that as well, support the brands that support Philippine football.
There you go.
I mean, so for every team, you look at their sponsors and you support those brands, whether it's LBC,
ELBC mo yan.
ELBC mo yan, di ba? Pili ka. Or like kung restaurant, mag-Gilligan's ka na. O, di ba? Ganon.
I'm a big fan of the Gilligan's.
You have to support the brands also that support Philippine football.
There you go. I'm a big fan of the Gilligan's Leyland Derby, just saying. Right. Yeah, with the jerseys. I think part of that also is when you show up with the team's jerseys to the games, and that's such a big factor.
Sure.
Because if there's something we could take away from like our neighboring countries, when I got to just go on a trip, of course, for fun in Singapore, they were saying, please do not wear like overseas uniforms. Please wear your local jerseys.
Yeah.
Because after all, in this situation, you're getting behind your country or you're getting behind your local team. Essentially supporting local. Yeah, in situations like that. And let's head over to our favorite part, the comment section, guys. Maybe you'd like to read something, of course, right here. Anything interesting?
Bring out your
Rough Serafin, of course. Showing the support. And who's this? Yeah, they're highlighting their jerseys right here. Martini agreeing with the merch, of course.
Yeah.
So it's all up to the teams actually how they make their merch a bit interesting.
There's one thing that I did want to add, and I think it involves the league in a little bit, is that if they could make the atmosphere in the game a little bit more casual friendly, give a casual something fun to do while they're there, right? Have a beverage, have a meal, something that would allow me to be like, I don't know, give me a random name, any name.
Something interactive. That's all I can say right
Any name,
now.
or Jeffrey, come
Okay.
with me to the game. Right? On Saturday, come with me. I'm gonna show you a good time. Right? If he's not into football, at least I have, gave him a drink or had some food. We had some chit chat. We had a good time. The game could be a bonus for the time being, but it'll allow me to pull a friend and get them to a game. Because eventually, that's how this thing grows. Right? We're just gonna be pulling friends and be like, dude, you gotta check this out. I had a great time on Saturday. Come with me and let's check this game out. And eventually, if they go there and they have a good time, they'll come back for more. Maybe they'll bring a friend. We have to keep moving in that direction, or else it's just gonna be the same old faces in the same place.
It's like the fan experience just leading up to the game, of course. It's all part of that. As we'll carry on to segue onto our weekend matchups, as we mentioned, Saturday, 2 days from now, we are gonna open with Tuloy FC versus Maharlika. So Tuloy actually did excel in their invitational, but I'd like to think this is a different challenge now. Tuloy are going to be playing with grown men right here, essentially with the big boys. With Maharlika, on the other hand, they're carrying on that momentum, I see, Diego, from the changes they made earlier this calendar year.
Yeah, and they've played a lot of tune-up matches also, and I've seen that on their coach's YouTube channel. So they've played against the likes of Kaya. I think they've played against Manila Digger more than once. They played against Stallion. So they're going to be fit. Tuloy also actually will be quite fit because they've, as it's seen there, they've played in the Tuloy Invitational Cup where they played against a lot of UAAP teams. But that's fitness nonetheless. So both of these teams are not at 0%. They've started their season already. And actually, I think this game's going to be very exciting. When you look at the other fixtures, you might be more excited for those fixtures. But what we're going to see in this fixture is we're going to see two teams that want to be the aggressor. They want to dominate possession because, as we know, Tuloy, they do that. They want to pass the ball around, keep the ball on the ground, and pass through their opponents. But Maharlika also, what we're seeing from their YouTube channel of their coach, which I keep mentioning.
You're a big fan of.
Yeah, shout out to
That's
Coach,
a good thing.
Coach Moondog. He actually watches the podcast also, so he messaged me that. And yeah, this is going to be a positive game because both of these teams are going to try to be the aggressor. There's going to be no sitting back here. It's going to be two teams that want to play a similar style. Possession, passing through the lines, high pressing. So I'm actually going to expect that this is going to be a little bit of an open match, maybe more similar to a basketball game, back and forth, back and end. So yeah, this is a very, very exciting match to look out for.
And with Tuloy, Jing, we're aware, they are pretty much the youngest team with their average age, right? Once upon a time, mga bata sila. Now these are the same kids, but they're now pretty much the age of a university student in the Philippines. And I'd like to think they never shy away from a challenge whenever they're playing against pros, right? These are boys playing amongst men, but the Tuloy boys don't seem to be like boys. Hindi sila takot.
Yeah. And the cool thing about them is that their coach is very particular about them gaining experience, right? He's a big proponent about compete. This is how we get better, right? And because they've already played at this level, granted, it wasn't a very good season for them on paper, but that would have been huge for their development as kids, as players, as footballers. And, when you have the likes of Harry Nunez and John Lloyd, who have done well as well in getting selected for national teams and our youth teams, these boys who are now men have grown a lot in their capability to compete. So I am very excited to see how they measure themselves against a team like Maharlika, who has veterans like Dina Barle, Jarrell Aristorenas, and Michael Menzi. These are proper veterans of the PFL now. So, it's time to see how far along they are in their progress. And this is definitely one of those matches that I'm going to keep an eye on because this is an early marker in what we can expect from these teams moving forward.
And with that, Natasha, interesting, right? Maharlika continuing to show that new page they turned, no longer that, hey, we're giving opportunities here. They're a team, they want to compete. That's for sure.
It's nice to see, of course, that they're also, like, they've planned around starting this season and they've posted a lot online. That's a lot of what we can gather from this. And as well as their chosen captains. As you said, Jorella Restorenas, Kenry Balobo, Dean Ibarle, Michael Menzi. And when you think about these players, I'd say that these players are also some of the players that have been overlooked by other teams. They haven't found consistently a home yet in terms of a club that they get to serve long time. And so this could be their chance to shine. If usually, like, for the other clubs, they don't do as well, or they're usually just coming off the bench. They don't get that much playing time. But let's see what they can do when they step up to the plate and now lead Maharlika FC against, of course, Tuloy FC. And as you talk about Tuloy, though they didn't finish so well in their previous seasons, etc., the thing about them is that they are a young team, so you're always going to root for them. And they're a team that have been training together and that have been together year in, year out. They just had their Tuloy Invitational Cup, which they won. And so you know that they're match fit and they're sharp coming into this season. And you're going to be excited with how much they've grown, how much they've learned. Because with a young team, there's a lot of learning curve. And so you can see that every year that they're just going to keep get better.
So a strong start, of course, could give them that confidence to go all the way. Let's get on with our matchups for this Saturday. Right after Tuloy Maharlika, we've got Taguig versus Cebu. And yeah, Taguig, there you go. Finally broke that social media silence, giving us the surprises we expected of sorts. Coach Scott Cooper, they did announce, is going to be handling this squad. Patrick Reichelt, a veteran, of course, a national team legend, just to banner that long list of players. Natasha, expectations high as always for Taguig, as we've said in the last episode.
Of course, the thing there is you have Coach Scott Cooper leading the charge. As he said, they've also started posting online. So it's a lot of things to be excited about. Hamed Hajimedi, Kurt Dizon, Marvin Breseño, all these players that will be playing for the side of Taguig. But they're also players, you could say, that are on the latter stages of their career. So you'd also like to see or how they're going to fit in going against Cebu FC that has been pretty consistent the last few years.
Very, very interesting. Medyo may pasabog yung Taguig over the last few days, finally. And as you mentioned, it's a kind of a different dynamic for this team now. Coach Scott Cooper used to coach the Ascos development team, right? We're talking about the complete opposite end of the spectrum where you're trying to get the most out of potential. Now you're trying to milk what's left of, veterans who have been around the park, so to speak, right? But they have these veteran smarts, they have their experience, and they have the quality that has been on display for over a decade now with some of these players. So it's a different challenge for Coach Scott Cooper. But one thing for sure is if this team is going to be anything like the previous team that he coached, they're going to be gritty and there's going to be a lot of fight that you're going to expect from their teams. And with Daisuke Sato there, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the case, right? But what a first game against Cebu Football Club immediately, right? Which is also a team that loves a bit of a scuffle, that loves a bit of a fight. So I think this is, these are ingredients for fireworks in this game. And if you're watching on Saturday night, you can, you should grab your popcorn, rub your hands together, because this is going to be a heck of a game, in my opinion.
And that'll be something to see in person, of course. But getting with Cebu Football Club, Jago, these guys have been able to play some matches, whether you call it the preseason or not. They got Choppy Cup games already, so things also looking good for Cebu. They have the rhythm.
Yeah, they might be the most match-fit club right now in the FIFA because, as you actually covered also, they played 3 games in the Shopee Cup. That's high-level games against high-level competition. So they beat Kasuka in 2 legs, 1 home and 1 away. And then they played against the Tampines Rovers from Singapore at home. And they did lose that match, but again, it's another 90 minutes against a high level opposition. So that's 3 very, very good games to get fit. And 3 games where they actually played well, despite the 2 losses in that. And you have players like Noah Ledel, who's really become a prominent figure as of late, also scoring against Tajikistan the other day. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game, this one. For example, there's a lot of individual battles to look out for. Patrick Reichelt versus Noah Ledel, that's going to be something to look out for. The midfield battle, that's going to be something to look out for. Yeah, this match, I have no idea which way it's going to go, but I'm just going to watch it and enjoy. And we actually saw also, there was a bit of a reunion the other day when
Fatih and Noah.
Yeah,
kaibigan na sila ulit.
they did play each other when Tajikistan under-23s played the Philippines under-23s. Of course, that campaign just ended. The Philippines with their best ever performance in that campaign. However, they didn't qualify through, but we congratulate them anyway. But yeah, back to this match. This match is going to be firecracker.
And I'd like to think that last meeting of Cebu and Taguig Jing is still a bit of a barometer because they still have the respective course from the last season. It was a goalless draw last time, I'd like to think. Things got heated as expected, so I'd like to think they want to get this one over the other and get a head start in the championship race, I'd like to think.
100%. These are the types of games that are basically 6-pointers, right? This is, you're up against a direct rival. You're trying to occupy the same spots in the table, right? So getting 3 points in a match like this is massive. It really is. And to start your season off on the right foot, going up against a rival, there's no better incentive to put out your best right away, right? To get your best foot forward. So yeah, I'm expecting that these guys are going to come out really hard, and I expect that they're going to put in their best effort. And I think these 2 teams, unlike some of the others that are a little bit less prepared, we're going to see a good version of these teams taking the field on Saturday.
Goose, going back, Natasha, it's really rare, right? You have, well, at least players from Filipino clubs and then they play against each other at the national team stage. I don't think we see that very often up until now.
Yeah. But of course, going back to Taguig and Cebu, like for this game, when you take a look at both teams, as Diego mentioned, of course, I think that Cebu has that slight advantage coming into this matchup just because they have been playing more consistently. They've had the Shopee Cup game. They've had already some games in hand. So they're more match fit. They're much more sharp. And for Taguig, I'm not sure how long their preseason tournament has been, or if they're
like the
already
build-up, right?
or how they've been building up to the game in the next few days. So I think that in the first half, if Cebu can hold down Taguig, in the second half, I think Cebu will take it against Taguig. That's just of course, anything can happen in a game, but that's just one of how I see this game panning out. Just because Taguig is still trying to figure out who will play the certain positions under Coach Scott Cooper, who again is a veteran coach who has coached the national team, who has coached the Azcal's development team. So it's also exciting what he'll be able to do with this Taguig team that ever since they started in the PFL, you already said they're going to be title contenders. And so we'll see this season if that's finally going to be the case.
To our coaches, of course, Coach Glenn, please start Fatih Kudoydod Zoda. Coach Scott, please start Patrick Reichelt. I want to see them play in the same wing. That's for sure, right?
How cool is it that Patrick Reichelt's back? It's
It's
been a
amazing.
long time.
It's so cool.
It's been a long time since we've seen him on Philippine soil, playing in club football. You know, it's going to be a treat because people keep writing him off and he keeps banging in goals, you know what I mean? So it's great to be able to see Patrick back playing in the PFL. I'm certain he's going to be finding the back of the net and bringing some entertainment to the pitch.
He's going to force everybody to raise their game, whether they're locals or foreigners. And that's why we enjoy seeing these guys, former national team, current national team players, coming in with all that experience. And just to wrap up, of course, Taguig bringing in a player like Hamed Hajimadi. He's been struggling. Let's see. Only find his form and just inject a bit of that push to Taguig, because we mentioned they've been underperforming of sorts in the last seasons. That's how high expectations are for them. Well, that's only the second game on Saturday. We'll head over to, you could say it's the main event of the day itself. Kaya versus Aguilas UMAC FC. That's a triple header on Saturday. So, yeah, people are sure gonna be able to maximize their trip. Sulit yung biyahe sa Rizal Memorial Stadium
Yeah.
this Saturday. Coach Yu Hoshide versus a new coach and Coach Jorg Steinbrenner. Sorry, I need to double check. I've been saying Coach Jorg a lot just with the first name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coach Yu, tried and tested in the Philippines. Coach Jorg is not yet established here, but he brings in that modern style of football that they've been preaching in their press conference. So I'd like to see how this one is gonna go. Kaya did play an official game already. Yes, it was against Army, as you guys mentioned. Aguilas, only friendlies. Then again, friendlies are friendlies. So we can't wait. But there's this quote, right, showing of Coach Yoshide by going through not only the good times, but also the difficult times together. Our teamwork and trust have grown even stronger. I think that's why Kaya are gunning for Pete, right? I'd like to think. Natasha.
When you think about Kaya FC versus the Aguilas UMAC FC, you could completely different levels of how the teams are put together. Kaya is a team that likes stability, loyalty. They want to have the same, and just add a few more pieces coming to the season. So they're a team that have been together for a long time and they just like to add a few pieces into their already made puzzle. But for Aguilas UMAC, coming into the season completely shaking things up, everything from head to toe, from the coaches to the players, you have no idea what to expect from them, and that's so refreshing for this last game matchup for Saturday to see two opposite teams battle it out on the field.
And leading that way, right, we know the names for Aguilas, but then again, they overhauled the roster. It's pretty much just the Talarok brothers and a few people who are holdovers in this revamp. And then Jing, Nano Amita, yes, he used to be with Kaya, went to Taguig, now is with Aguilas. Nano denied a Copa to the Aguilas when he was playing for Kaya. Yung knockout play na goal na yan.
Legally or not, who knows?
And then Nano's gonna be playing against his former team again. He's playing against a good friend of his in Paulo Bugas.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of those individual battles here. Parang bakbaka na kaagad eh, di ba?
Extremely excited for it. And again, for Aguilas to test their lineup, what better challenge could you have than the defending champions, right? This is the test for you to see. It's an experiment. They're taking a risk. There's no doubt about that, right? You've taken a working program that looked like it was on the rise and could be something if you had stayed on the road and on the path, but they've been put in a situation where they needed to blow that up and start from scratch. And they've taken a very bold stance in how they've gone about doing it. So personally, as an observer, I am very excited to see what you guys been cooking. Kamusta ba yung luto? Kamusta ba yung sabaw, di ba? Like, mahigop naman yan, di ba? Patry lang konti. Kasi I want to see if this new way of thinking, of going about things, might actually bear fruit, you know? And if it does bring some success, then that will open the minds of everybody who's operating within the PFL, you know? So I'm excited to see how they've come together and how the new coaching is coming into play. But they would have watched that game against Army, and I'm sure they're going to have some things in their pocket that they're going to want to surprise Kaya with. So let's see, man. This is great. A really good game that I can't wait to see unfold.
So maybe there's a bit of that factor, hindi pa scouted yung Aguilas.
No.
Because it's gonna be their first. And then, yes, Kaya played one game, so Coach Jorg's crew at least did get to do some homework heading into this one. And to throw to you, Diego, both teams, I'd like to think, strong in every position. Right.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of interesting individual battles, as was said earlier. We're gonna see the like of the Ott versus Amita. That's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see a lot of
Mike, yeah.
We're gonna see a lot of duels, and this is a bit of a wild card match because, as you said, no one's been able to scout UMAC Aguilas properly because they haven't played yet. And yeah, what a match to close out the triple header. A bit of a, I won't say title clash just yet, but it's a clash between two teams who definitely wanna reach for that level. So honestly, this is another match like the previous one that I can't really split because it's a bit of a wild card match. Again, Kaya played against an Army team that, with all due respect, did not defend all too well. They were even doing an offside trap against Kaya. So, yeah, there's only one outcome if you're going to do that against Kaya. But yeah, this match will be a better test for Kaya and for Aguilas UMAC. If you're gonna start the season well, might as well do it against the best team. So yeah, what a third match for this triple header on Saturday.
One of the comments from Docs, pahigop naman daw. I think they're talking about that soup drink that's gonna
Patikim!
possibly, be the hit or the soup of the day. Kung manalo yung Aguilas versus Kaya. Kaya, of course, naging staple ng Philippine football. There's another comment, actually.
Wait, there was another comment that I saw.
Sige,
Because I was
go
talking
ahead.
about earlier.
Go ahead, yeah.
That some of the players of Taguig are already in the latter stage of their career.
Go ahead.
And then the comment was, Titos of Taguig.
Si Dan Labore, yeah. Kasi ba, culturally, may titas of Manila tayo. Ito, titos of Taguig. There you go. Sorry na nyo, na-blast ako dun. Hey, we mean it in a nice way again kasi mga veteran yung players of Taguig. Right, there you go. Mga tito led by the tito of titos, Hamed Hajimari.
Uy, 25 lang yun. 10 years ng 25 yun.
Hey, don't mess with Mr. Half Man Half Amazing, eh? All right, special thank you to our drinks partner, Thirst. Kick off with savings this football season. Use the code TFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download the Thirst app today wherever you get your apps. So, Saturday pa lang yun. And then we have a doubleheader on Sunday. Philippine Army versus Valenzuela, PB Mindiola. I'd like to think bouncing back is going to be the name of the game for this one, Diego.
Yeah, I actually like all the matches so far. I can't split this one because both of these teams are going to want to be eager to show that last week, that's not the true reflection of ourselves. Because last week, obviously, both of these teams lost by a huge amount of goals. So both teams are going to want to prove themselves in this matchup. The two goals from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola were actually quite impressive because they came against a tight defense, the defense of Manila Digger. Philippine Army were yet to see much of going forward. Admittedly, they might have more chances in this match. I'm actually expecting an open match in this one. As I mentioned earlier, Philippine Army, probably the only team to do this in Philippine football. They play an offside trap. They camp their center backs on the halfway line. Did work as well against Kaya, but for this match, might actually have a higher chance of working. So this could be quite an open match. You're going to see Isaac Ano running against that offside trap, but at the same time, that offside trap might be more effective against a team that wasn't as well drilled as Kaya. So again, like all the matches so far, I can't split this one.
Oof, okay. So with that, I just wanted to add, there's gonna be that battle, Balot Doctora versus Yok Besite, as veterans. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a great battle. I'm just going to say something about Philippine Army, right? When you look at the roster of teams in the league, there's not a single team there that has more potential to create a huge fan base than Philippine Army. You're talking about an entity that has about, almost 150,000 active members. And more in the reserves, and you're not including their family members, their extended family. This is a gold mine that's just waiting to be unlocked. And football is the primary sport where the armed forces can really thrive, where there's no height requirement required. Okay, it helps when you're a center back or a goalkeeper. There are some exceptions, but this is the game which they dominated in the past, and they can be very competitive again. And I feel like they just need to be able to put on a good display. They don't even have to be a title contender in order to unlock this fan base, right? They just need to be competitive. And I think they fought honorably against Kaya. They didn't quite fight valiantly enough for me, and the competence to fight and compete at this level was not there yet. Those two factors need to be addressed, or else we're not going to see a competitive army. And unfortunately, the results that they've been giving away in the past, they're simply unacceptable, right? If you're a neutral and you want to see an armed forces team, how do you want to see the armed forces compete? Like, you want your armed forces to be, competent. You want to see them be resilient. You want to see them dig in and be brave. That's it. You're not asking them to win. You just want them to be gritty.
If they go down swinging.
Yeah, you want them to be hard to beat, and you want them to fight hard. We haven't been seeing those performances from Army. And if we can just make that happen for them, they could be a fan favorite. And that could entice the other armed forces teams to come, and that would create great derbies, great environments, great atmosphere. The armed forces are huge potential. They really are. And this is a game where they can really show what they're about. Against a team like Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, who, respectfully, are not in the running for top 6, at least right now, anyway, right? We don't see them as a top 6 team. These are the type of games where you can't get blown out 6-0. You can't. You have to be able to make it a 1-0 scrap, 1-1, 2-2, but make it gritty, make it a fight. These are the games that Philippine Army really needs to take seriously. These are their finals at this moment in time. So I want to see that. It's more of less of a prediction. It's more of a hope and a plea. Please, Philippine Army, show me something because I really want to get behind this team.
And I think Valenzuela, PB Mendiola might just be the team that's going to poke the bear. Because as we saw from that first game against Manila Digger, they were highly physical. They were getting cards. They got less cards than I expected them to get, actually, for how they were playing. And so I think that they could bring out that side in Army to really bring back that physicality that they used to have and what they're known for in the past. So, but of course, still with class, in the loss of the game, of course. But I think that it's going to be a good match for both of them. But I also think that Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, they could be a team that could also eventually make it to the top 6. At the moment, during the first game, they only had 15 players available, so only 4 players on their bench that were available for that first matchup. But you could tell that in small moments of the game, in patches of the game, you could see moments of brilliance. And if they could just do that more consistently, then they could eventually find that momentum, that shift, and become a top gun in the PFL.
Let's see, of course. Well, you don't really call them reinforcements, but the guys who were missing the last game, if they're able to play now in this one, the only way to go is up for of course, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. There you go.
Starting to roll off the tongue. There.
Of course, there you go. Army versus One Taguig, Battle of the Vets daw, sabi da sa comment section, di ba? That's the Titos versus your servicemen, right there. Who's gonna win? Winner gets the gig. You always love those stuff, of course. And yeah, pretty much with the games. There is another one. The last time these two teams squared off, there's a lot of extracurricular action. Manila Digger versus Stallion Laguna FC. That's gonna wrap up the weekend. That's gonna be on Sunday, the second game of that day to wrap things up there. And with Digger again, no surprise that they are pretty loaded, or they're even more loaded, given that they are playing in the AFC Challenge League, and then they'll be facing or squaring off with the ambitious Stallion Laguna FC. Stallion, we're still awaiting the announcements. Now, ball is in their court, I'd like to think. But yeah, I'm still getting flashbacks, Natasha, from that game between the two teams' fireworks. Yeah, we can expect that.
Yeah, when it's a game between Manila Digger FC and Stallion Laguna FC, you know that it's going to be a highly competitive one. At the moment, it's still a lot of hush-hush as well for the side of Stallion Laguna. If we thought that One Taguig was very secretive about how they're shaping up for the season, I feel that it's the same thing with Stallion. They've lost a lot of players, not only their foreign players, but the local players as well. So it's most probably going to be a revamped team, but we also haven't heard much about them. And it's going to be a tough task to be going against a team like Manila Digger FC that has already played not only in this league, but also in the previous outing as well. And they've played so well. Cisse is going to be a striker that is going to be so hard to stop. I think that he's a very dangerous player, and he's in top form at the moment. And I don't know of any other striker at the moment on the same caliber as him.
Yeah, the usual. So it was the top dogs of Digger who did well in their opener. So those are the players we expect, of course, to be the main cogs in this game versus Stallion. Because after all, these players already got to prove themselves in these high-level matches. There's also Modu Mane to add to the mix. But yeah, this situation, Jing, like what we were saying with Aguilas, now it's Stallion with that question mark kasi unscouted sila. So Digger will have to deal with that curveball heading into a big game, a clash again between potential favorites, I'd like to think.
Well, Digger, they are going to be coming in with confidence, that's for sure. They're going to be riding the momentum of their recent win. But Stallion, the thing that they do have is they have a management and a coaching staff that understand what is necessary to compete at this level. They understand the level that they have to reach. And they have had a history of pulling out foreign talent in particular that saan nyo nakuha yan, diba? Pero bigla na lang they're going to surprise you and they're going to be able to showcase their talents on this stage, right? You're talking about Abusi, you're talking about Ivanovsky, you're talking about Rufo Sanchez back in the day, Wapo Cañas. They have this reputation for being able to spot talent in places where nobody else is looking and bring them to the PFL and surprise and shock everybody with the level of talent that they have. So Stallion are a wild card, and that's not something that you say often, not in the recent years anyway, where we have come to expect their core and all of that. They've done away with that, right? Things weren't working, it weren't progressing in the way that they were hoping, and now we're going to see a different Stallion Laguna side. And I do hope that it is going to be a Stallion Laguna side that is back competing in the top 3 places where they should be, in my opinion, right? As a team that has been around alongside Kaya, what other team has been there all this time and has had that stability? None, right? So Stallion should be competing at the very top, and I hope this is going to be a game where we get a good barometer of where they're going to be this season, because, man, that is a tough test. You guys have been talking about Manila Digger and the firepower they have. That's going to be a tough one to stop. It really is. So I like Manila Digger on this one, but I can get used to these types of games on a regular basis. Please, feed me more of these. Every day, Saturday and Sunday, you get games like this. Sign me up.
Those are the games we live for.
Yeah.
Yung mga high octane, right? High intensity. Yeah. And with this, Jago, I'm seeing a tough calendar for Stallion. They're opening versus Manila Digger, and then the next week or so, Cebu FC kagad. They have a history also. Close games. Mr. Tassi and Coach Ernie, right, they confirmed right away, rivalry na to. And I'm not saying the reason is Gilligan's versus Leylam. It's also what they do on the field, for sure, right? The games we've had. Yeah, historically speaking also.
Yeah, and that schedule is why Stallion have to hit the ground running. You never want to lose your first game, but it does happen. But if you do lose this game, you have to pick yourself up right after, because you're going to go up against the other team in an international competition, Cebu, who are also, if not, maybe even fitter than Manila Digger. So Stallion, the schedule has not been kind to them, but you can only play who's in front of you. They have to hit the ground running. We're still not sure who they've actually acquired this window. Of course, they have to make up for the loss of striker Finn McDaniel. So we'll see how they cope with that. I'm sure they have made signings. It's just a matter of time until we see who they are specifically. There's rumors that we see online. But yeah, this Sunday, they have to hit the ground running because they're up against one of the teams with the most momentum right now in the league. Again, Manila Digger scored the most goals last season. They scored 9 last weekend. Sisay scored 4. Nishioka scored 2. So it's going to be another firecracker of a match. And yeah, again, it's a bit of a wild card to see or to expect what Stallion's going to bring. Again, we don't really know much about them for now. As we see there in the comments, a Stallion team without Finn will be interesting. They went hand in hand for a while. So we'll see how they replace the goals that he brought the past few seasons. But let's not forget that Stallion FC, Laguna FC rather, they were in the AFC Cup not too long ago, the men's team, and they actually went toe-to-toe against Terengganu, I think it was, and other teams, I think one from Australia, one
Mariners,
from
yeah.
Yeah. So they are a team in the PFL that belong up there. So yeah, let's not forget that even if they didn't finish in the top 4 last season, they're still one of the PFL's biggest clubs. So this is a clash between maybe one of the more established entities in Philippine football versus a newcomer in Manila Digger. So again, if we don't, we're probably gonna see a red card in this game. But yeah, this
What
is gonna
team we
be-
won't say. It's up to them. Okay, we're not picking the team. Or red cards. Just to be fair, okay. Mamaya sasabihin nila, bias daw kami, mga ganun. Okay, we gave both sides. Sorry, yeah, you're saying,
Yeah,
or you're good?
yeah, it's gonna be a physical game all around, end-to-end battles and stuff. Yeah, again, I can't split this one.
Wala ba tayong hints dyan, Tasha? Sa squad
No,
member?
no, I don't know anything.
I don't know if I'm allowed to
But the
mention
thing
what I
is,
know.
I think Clara knows even much more than
I have a
do.
bit. Yeah.
But the thing with Stallion is that they're going to be really hungry to go against Manila Digger because everyone's talking about Manila Digger. And Stallion at the moment are like, that should be us. That should be us. And if they want everyone to keep quiet or to put some respect to their name, they have to beat Manila Digger.
Oh, I love it. Stallion Laguna with
Okay.
a chip on their shoulder.
I need to address this. Si Salman saying, Claro, alam namin Stallion fan ka. Tama na. No, I'm not a fan. I worked with the team in an AFC capacity. Just so you know. And as an AFC official, I'm also working with another team. So hindi ako fan, okay? Empleyado ako. There you go. May accusation na, Jing, grabe. Jing, pahingin ng tulong dito. Woo! Yeah, who am I working with? You'll find out later this year. Yeah, and only in an AFC capacity, of course. And hindi ako to, guys. This is not us. I'm protecting ourselves with a disclaimer. To be or not to be, that's in the poll. Rumble or no rumble? Si Direk Glenn to. But what a comment section. No, I'm giving credit to his creativity. Direk Glenn, one of the guys behind the scenes, of course. But let's add a bonus a bit with Stallion Laguna. Let's go with the women's side, right? They qualified to the group stage of the AFC Women's Champions League.
Congrats.
We got to see their draw, of course, and I will say it again. Stallion qualified to the Women's Champions League preliminary stage when a now retired Natasha was playing with them.
Man,
So-
I'm just so proud of them, really, of how they're representing women's football and now bringing them to the AFC Women's Champions League. But the chip on our shoulder for women's football, Australia talaga lagi. Lagi tayong kasama with Australia, whether it's with the national team or now for the group stage of the AFC Women's Champions League, they're in the same group with Melbourne.
You know what more? The girls are going to be playing in Vietnam again, a place they are familiar with already. So, yeah, here's an interesting comment. What did Dan say? Yeah, with Australia. Yeah, with what Natasha just mentioned. But yeah, let's get on with it, of course. We cannot wait. But all games will
you
be at
just
the
got,
Rizal
like,
Memorial.
Passed over the fact that Natasha retired from football. How amazing is this? That
That's okay, guys.
you were away from the game, came back, won a trophy. But wait. Had a kid first.
Yeah.
And then came back
Had a
and
daughter.
then won a trophy. Amazing stuff. And then now you get to bless us with your presence, with your commentary. So congratulations on a great career.
And thanks.
Well done. And getting
Thanks,
into
guys.
international commentary and now with the PFL. So it's an awesome career that you've had in football. You're a real asset and a credit to the game. So it's awesome that you're here with us.
Man, thanks,
Yeah.
Jim.
37 caps for the national team. You did say when we called that game.
Yeah.
You were against Chinese Taipei. Filipinas versus Chinese Taipei.
But also, especially now that I'm covering the game, it's also so nice to see more women taking up space in football, not just women's football, but in men's football as well. I also want to give a shout out to Laban Filipinas, who are handling the social media of the PFL. And so if you could see right now, if you look at those IGs, you could see that there's so much more buzz about the work that they're doing, the quality of work that they're doing, handling the social media of the PFL. So it's nice to see the likes of Ven and Silapam, of course, getting their hands on handling the PFL and blessing everyone with the quality of the content that they're putting out.
All done.
Yes, it was a treat to see. I mean, I was away from the stadium, but I was updated thanks to them, of course. But yeah, speaking of the stadium, all games will be at RMS or the Rizal Memorial Stadium in Manila. And those games will be streamed on the Philippines Football League YouTube channel. And subscribe to the PFL at We Are PFL. That's on the different social media platforms. Subscribe to Upstream Sports TV for more emerging sports, live streams, and features. And a big thank you again to our drinks partner Thirst. Kick off with savings this football season. Use the code PFL2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Mamaya mag-expect kayo, no? I'm bringing all those drinks to the game. No, di ko kaya, sorry. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download the Thirst app today wherever you get your apps. My name is Clara Manzano, and catch us in the next installment of the Minsan Football Show. And if we go from the screen left, your left to right, we've got Natasha Alquiros. Center, hot to seat again, Jing Hamlang. I think, obviously, you survived. Veterano ka naman. You make it look easy. And then the farthest, he's taking the hot seat next time, Diego Cordero. Well, we're going to sign off this evening. We'll catch you again when there's another show. We'll see you guys. A big thank you again. See ya.